Tsar Nicholas II was not a very good ruler, and shouldn't have been put into rule. He was unprepared for the revolutions to come, and made many things that worse for Russia during that time.
During the Russian Revolution, pogroms or massacres were conducted against the Jewish people as a means to blame them for everything that was going wrong at the time.
To 1835.
The Russo-Japanese War was a war fought between Russian Empire and Japan. This war lasted from 1904 to 1905. The Russo-Japanese War was caused when Japan launched a surprise attack on Port Arthur. This would soon cause problems for Russia in later times. The war was ended in 1905 with the Treaty of Portsmouth. On January 22, 1905, a horrible event in Russia occurred known as Bloody Sunday. During the active phase of the Russian Revolution of 1905, many people were very upset and there were many strikes and demonstrations. A group of demonstrators marched down to the Winter Palace to voice their opinions to the Tsar Nicholas II. At around 10 to 11 a.m., the Tsar Nicholas II ordered for the guards to come and shoot the demonstrators.
The March 1917 revolution was started because of the discontent over low wages and high taxes brought on by previous wars such as World War I and the Crimean War. The lack of food and extreme cold brought the female workers of Petrograd to leave their factory for an increase of wage, but the factory refused to pay them, which resulted in the workers going on strike. Tsar Nicholas II told his army to go and stop the strike, but the army ended up joining them. The next day, the Duma also joined, and the Duma made a provisional
government,
government,
Russian assembly with
which made the Tsar relocate.
Functions. The first formally constituted Duma was the State Duma introduced into the Russian Empire by Tsar Nicholas II in 1906.
In the Duma, Tsar Nicholas kept interfering into their work and did not let them make any changes to the country without his permission. Unfortunately for Tsar Nicholas II, the Duma soon would go against him, forcing him to step down from rule.
Tsarina Alexandra was Tsar Nicholas's wife, who fell in love with Gregory Rasputin.
In March 1917, Tsar Nicholas was forced to abdicate. He was finally out of power, and the Duma was free to elect a new leader.
The Triple Entente was a pact between Russia, Great Britain, and France to go against the Triple Alliance of Germany, Austria-Hungary, and Italy during World War I.
Who was a moderate socialist, became the prime minister of the new provisional government when Tsar Nicholas II, a new group entered into the Russian Revolution, was the Soviets. They were a group of people split up between the Mensheviks and Bolsheviks. The Bolsheviks were led by Vladimir Lenin, who was against the provisional government. After the November 1917 revolution, Leon became the new leader of the Soviet Union. He implemented new economic policies that saved Russia.
The Treaty of Brest-Litovsk was a peace treaty signed on March 3, 1918 between the new Bolshevik government of Soviet Russia and the Central Powers. This peace treaty ended Russia's participation. The Russian Civil War was a multi-party war after the Russian revolutions of 1917. It was fought to determine the political future for Russia. The three major armies to fight in the Russian Civil War were the Red Army, which was a branch of the Air Force who became established right after the 1917 revolution, and the Bolsheviks, who were a faction of Marxist Russian Social Party, and the Whites, who were a loose confederation of anti-communists who fought the Bolsheviks.